What's going on, everybody? Hello, welcome, cheers, happy Wednesday. Excuse me. And welcome to another week of Trades Lady Happy Hour, celebrating women in the trades. If you are new to this series, this is a weekly series where each week we meet another fantastic woman in the trades, hear about her story, hear about her challenges and her wins, and just what her life and her career has been all about. These are really designed to just share the stories and shine a light on how many amazing women there are working in the trades. We are a small percentage of trades folks, but we are still mighty and have a ton of great stories. And you know, a lot of the ladies out there are just grinding day to day and don't get a heck of a lot of appreciation or attention for what they do, and so this is really about celebrating them. So I appreciate you guys joining in. Those of you who've been coming back week after week, I appreciate your loyalty, and gotten so many messages from folks saying that they really enjoy these happy hours, and I'm so glad to hear that. I love doing them. It's so amazing to meet all of these incredible women. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to our happy hour guest for this week. Her name is Andrea, and she is a Navy veteran, a auto mechanic, and a shop owner. So she's got quite a few, excuse me, I don't know what's going on here. She has got quite a few really awesome experiences, and I think she'll have a ton of inspiration and words to share with all of us from all of those different perspectives. She's also a teacher. I forgot to mention that one. So she does all sorts of really cool stuff. So I'm going to see if she has joined the room yet. Bear with me for one moment while I try to multitask here. Let's see. Where are you, lovely? Hi.
I figured.
How are you?
I'm really good. You're having kittens. Congratulations.
I'm having kittens like right now.
I know. I don't know how you're not just waiting over them like, yay.
Oh my God. I was for like the last hour. I was like, oh my God, I want to keep watching, which is just so weird. Like, we want to watch this, but they're so cute, and there's more coming. There's 5 so far.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't even, like, I'm beside myself. But anyway.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the journey and watch all of the babies grow over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, totally. You know you want one, don't you? You want to come down and get one?
Yeah. Don't say that loud enough that my kids can hear, because they'll be like,
okay, sorry. I take it back. I'm sorry. I'm also equally excited to meet you. So
yeah, likewise.
Where are you? I saw your ceiling for a second there. Hi.
Probably plug my phone in.
That might help. Are you at home, at work?
I'm at home.
Nice. Very nice. What part of the world are you in? Again, remind me.
I am on Martha's Vineyard on the East Coast.
Nice. So it's late where you are.
So it's 8.
Yeah.
It's not.
Long since time that you should have left the shop, though. So.
Yeah. When you're in business, there are a lot of 8 o'clock days that happen over there. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, you have no idea.
Oh my goodness. So welcome. Thank you for saying yes to joining me on this crazy little series that we've got going. Would you take a moment? I kind of did a little like nutshell intro to who you are, but you'll probably do it way better than me. Just a quick nutshell of who you are, what you do, and then we'll go back in time. We'll dig into that a little bit more, but just what you do and who you are right now.
So my name's Andrea. Hi. I own an auto repair shop. It's called Andrea's Auto. It is on Martha's Vineyard. So we have, I think, probably 12 shops-ish.
Oh, wow.
And ever increasing mechanic business. There used to be 1, and now I think there's probably 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
But
excuse me, I'm so sorry.
The only woman that I think I'm the first woman to own a shop here. So that is currently what I'm doing. I am a mom. I have 2 kids. I have a sophomore in high school, my son, and then my daughter is in her first year of college. And
you do not look old enough for that.
Thanks. Plus, I just tattoo over all the wrinkles and things like that. So
That's
that's
smart. That's smart.
like, all those stretch mark areas. Yeah, tattoos. That's the answer.
Cheers to that.
Yes.
Well, you look fabulous.
Mm.
What are you sipping on tonight?
I got some Angel's Envy for tonight.
Oh, all right. A fellow bourbon girl.
Yeah, I love me my bourbon.
Nice. We're going to get along just fine.
We are. Every time I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that one. I haven't had that one. All right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried Buffalo Trace?
I don't think I have. That was on my list. And I
You
was
should
like,
check that one out. I like that one a lot.
I had my hands on High West and I was like, okay, so somebody gave me a bottle of the rye and I'm a bourbon over a rye.
Yeah.
Sweet tooth and I like my sugar. So I'm going to try that one next, I think.
It's yummy. It's real smooth. But anyway, we don't need to go down the bourbon. We could talk for hours about bourbon, I'm sure. But I don't know that everybody watching this really cares about that right now. So, all right. So let's go back in time a little bit because I know you were in the Navy. Is that where you learned and got involved in mechanics?
Oh yeah, I had no knowledge, no desire, no nothing. None of that going into this.
Interesting.
And I went into the Navy. I went to military school after high school. And when I had complete other intentions for my military career, as I'm sure do a lot of other people. I was like, I'm going to be stationed, Hawaii would be great. I want to fly planes. That's really what I want to do. They were like, you are legally blind. Not gonna. I was like, yeah, okay, well, no corrective lenses. I got contacts. So, my planes. So they were like, but we need engineers. I was like, oh, that's not, I don't know. I mean, that's not me. I don't think that would be place on your part, people. They're like, no, we're going to send you to the school. And it was like, in the school, the catchphrase was, how in your car it does this. And I was like, oh, no clue what you're talking about at all. But luckily, when you are on a ship of that size, I was on a flat top, slightly smaller than an aircraft carrier. So massive engine room spanning different levels of the ship. And you can walk the system. So that was really extremely helpful. Being okay, well, here is where the fuel comes from. So walk with me and we'll go and follow all these lines and see what system goes where and what does what. In a sense, that was extremely helpful because you can.
That makes sense. Yeah, because you can visualize. It's like those cutaway engines, right? Where you can see what's going on inside. I saw my first ship engine a couple of years ago. I was on a cruise, which I'm not a big fan of cruises, but wound up on one and convinced the folks that they should let me see the engine room. And it was the coolest thing. It was so awesome, but you're totally right. Like you can see all of the parts and pieces and it kind of makes more logical sense when you can see it that way than when you're like, all this stuff is happening in this little thing and I can't see it.
Yeah. And like a good size comparison is on the ship that I was on, the whole spark plug ignition bit was a guy with a torch that runs and jams it into the firebox. And that's however the process starts. So you got the human spark plug kind of thing going on, which was always they're an interesting part, those guys.
That's crazy. That was not the case in the cruise, but maybe it wasn't. I just didn't see that part. That's insane.
Yeah, insane. Yep, yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, so you went from knowing nothing
to basically still knowing a little more than nothing after that school. Because I mean, really, what do you learn in 6 months? By the way, this is in Newport in the summer, so there's a lot of factors that go into not really retaining information there. So I got to the ship and they were like, okay, so we are short staffed. We need you to take 2 divisions instead of 1. So you have about 95 people. And I was like, oh, cool. Not cool at all. No, not cool. The the Navy back then, probably in most of the military, said they were ready to integrate women. Not. I did not have that really friendly experience. So it was
You had
pretty.
all the challenges, right? You were new to this, suddenly had all these people under you, and as a woman, they weren't too excited about you being there.
There were, I don't remember how many people there were on my ship underway, but we deployed with Marines. So underway, it was, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of people, right? And there were 14 women total. So it was an adjustment on life in general. But I had gone to military school, so the ratio there was 14-1 also. So I kind of got used to that a little bit. Not really, but you get, you know.
It gets easier.
You know, you know what's coming.
Yes.
But it did not make it easy to just do my job. And that is all I wanted to do was my job. But it was just incredibly difficult to be taken seriously enough that people thought that I was there to do my job. And I'm like, okay, no, what did you sign up for? I did not sign up to find a husband, not what I'm doing here. And that is just really a general consensus amongst people. Well, she's doing this because she needs to, land her trophy husband. But
isn't that so? I've heard that so many times. Like, and I saw it when I went to school. Like, there were some women at my school that were actually there to meet husbands, and it just blew me away. It was always so frustrating to me because I'm like, oh, you're making it harder for those of us who like are here because we really want to be. But
yeah,
God, it's such an interesting thing, and I want you to say again for the people in the back, right? Like, I just want to be able to do my job. That's all I want to do.
Let me do my job. Take me seriously. I'm here to do a job. Same as you. That's what I'm doing. So, yeah.
So how did that go? Like, were you able to kind of earn your stripes and gain the respect of folks? How did that go?
It was a rough road. Definitely not smooth. I tried to really do my job, but when I got to my ship, it wasn't just the engineering job. Because I was an officer, I also had to spend time in combat. I had to spend time on the bridge doing navigation. So you're kind of spread pretty thin. You can't just be in the engine room. So, I mean, I think sometimes I would get like 4 hours of sleep-ish. And it was a lot of work. My ship was just going into the shipyard, and so everything was being taken apart, and then getting a lot of what my job was when it was getting put back together was to test all the systems. And so I'm just learning all of these systems, and I don't know how to test them. And trying to sort of walk around and familiarize myself didn't go very well. People would be like, oh, you got to check the ballast tank sensor. And you got to go all the way down to the bottom of the ship. So now I'm like levels under the ocean and crawling to find a set that doesn't exist. Yeah, pretty much. Yes. So there were a lot of shenanigans and hazing, which I was not a stranger to. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just pay my dues and just keep doing my job. And eventually they'll see that I am here to do my job. And it took a long time. What it really took was the Christmas party where we were allowed to drink together socially and hang out. So I was allowed to hang out with all of the guys that worked for me for the first time on a level where we could drink some beers and talk and hang out. And that changed everything.
Interesting.
and it was great. It really made the difference in them just kind of like shedding that exoskeleton of uniform and rank and just being like, oh, we are real people here. Yeah, I get along with you guys. You guys are great. Like, yes. So it was really great. There was a mutual respect after that. And the guys just kind of like took me under their wings and helped me out. And so every time I would go down into the engine room, somebody would pull me aside and be like, come check out what I'm doing. And it was awesome.
There's so much in that, like just in that part of the story, like there's so much to be said, like the hazing thing, right? Like we're told that that's just normal and that's just part of shop life, but how much that really affects people's ability to stay in the industry, right? Like we wonder why we can't retain people in this industry. And yet when they come into the industry, we treat them like crap. and so like, that's a whole thing. And then just how your personality, like who you are as a person and ability to connect with the people around you makes a world of difference in whether people are willing to teach you, whether they're willing to treat you like an equal. There's so much in that piece of your story that I think is so relevant and important for people to hear.
Yeah. And I think throughout my career, there have been, we all know that our 2.5% is a mighty 2.5%, but it is definitely not a woman's industry. So I know that personally, my whole career, there have been some really, really great men that have boosted me up and really like held me along the way and held my hand, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And it's really great that not everybody is against you, and there are a lot of people that are just can't wrap their heads around it, but I have had some really great fortune to come across some guys that really wanted to support me. And once they saw that I was serious about doing the work and getting dirty and getting my hands into it, just being like, oh, she's for real. All right, great. We can get behind this.
Yeah.
And it's been really great to have that kind of support. And a lot of times in our industry, I find that, and probably in any industry where you're sort of fighting that small percentage of women that also are trying to do something, it's cutthroat. And a lot of times the women are the people that are really like trying to like claw their way. And I'm like, we don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be okay. But there are some of those women out there that are like, I will take you down if it makes me move an inch further.
Well, it's an interesting phenomena, right? Like because there's a minority of us, you know, there's kind of two ways it can go. It can go like, oh my God, another woman who's doing what I do. Yes, I love you. I feel like we're sisters already. And then the other side is this like perception that it's just a small piece of the pie. And if there's so few of us, like, I think sometimes we get used to being an only. Yeah. And then we meet somebody else. I'm like, oh, I'm not an only anymore. Right. So I think there's an interesting thing that happens there. But yeah, somebody said something in the comments. They said the hazing happens to both men and women. And I want to respond to that really quickly because they're absolutely right. It does happen to both men and women. I think it becomes an extra layer of crap when you are a woman, but it happens to both. And it's a problem either way. Like we shouldn't be hazing newbies in the industry, period, point blank. We shouldn't be doing that. But it is an extra layer when you're a female and you're a minority and they don't want you there. But it's also a great point that you made. Like there are a lot of amazing men out there who are encouraging and awesome and supportive. And those of you who are watching this, like we need you guys. Our success in this industry is dependent on us having allies. And so be our allies.
Yes, please.
Okay, so keep going with the story. I know I've like interrupted and derailed you and brought you down tangents. So you had this Christmas party, you got to know these guys, they started taking you under their wing. How old were you, by the way, at this point? Because you said you were just out of high school when you went to military school.
So this is now, oh God, how old was I? I think I was 21.
I'm
20,
so baby.
22. Oh yeah. I didn't even know who I was at that point. I had no idea. And this whole journey has really been a lot of self-discovery for me. Like I never in a million years growing up, nobody would have looked at me and been like, she's going to be a mechanic someday. No, that's not how that would have gone.
I relate to that one.
So, and I think that so even still at that point, I was learning all this and I still didn't know. They kept saying, when you in your car, when it does, and I was like, all right, start from scratch. Cause no, I don't know what you're talking about. And it wasn't really until after the guys started to take me in that I felt comfortable enough to say like, hey, in your car when it does this, I was like, so what does it mean when your car sounds like a jet engine is taking off every time you step on the brakes? They were like, oh, girl, you are metal on metal. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Can you help?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
My senior chief was like, all right, listen, next time we pull in, you go get a bottle of Crown and you come over and I will teach you how to do some brake work on your car.
Nothing like working on brakes while you're drunk.
Yeah. Well, the Crown was for him. Specifically, I was not touching the Crown. That was
got it. Okay.
So
like we do not advocate working on brakes while you're drunk, FYI.
he got one glass and a milk crate for himself and was like, all right, I'm going to tell you how this goes.
Nice.
Yeah. And that is where I started in his garage, taking stuff apart, figuring it out. And then I was like, oh, it's so satisfying that I was like, all right, I'm going to tuck that back in there somewhere. And eventually maybe I'll come back to that little piece. It took a long time to get back to that little piece, but eventually the Navy and I didn't get along so well in the end.
Okay. I feel like there's a story there, but you're not. You can share it or not. It's up to you.
The departure date was a little sooner than planned.
Okay.
Got a little bit of a footprint on the tail end from
okay.
So yeah. Turns out that I really liked drinking with the boys a little too much. Oh, I got into a little bit of trouble there.
Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Well, we can let that one. We'll just gloss over that.
I was kind of ready to move on.
Yeah.
And in the end, that decision was just fine.
Yeah. Things happen for a reason, even if we don't know what they are yet.
Yeah.
Do you remember a moment? Like, was it that moment in the garage, with the bottle of Crown and working on brakes? Was it on the ship? Like, was there a moment where you remember coming from not having a clue that this was going to be what you wound up doing in your life, that you said like, yes, this is what I want. I enjoy this. I can be good at this. Was there a moment for you?
It was definitely not that moment. I knew I knew that I liked it, and I knew that it was very satisfying to be able to do that work on my own and just have that sense of accomplishment. Also because, then I wasn't really making all that much money. So it was great to be able to just go buy the parts and do it. And I was broke. So there were a lot of factors that were nice, but it wasn't like that moment.
Okay.
I think, so after I got out of the Navy, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And I was stationed in Norfolk. So I was like, well, I could try to make a life down here. I've already got an apartment. And I could, I was working a couple jobs. And then my mother sent me this clipping from the newspaper that the Academy of Dramatic Arts was having auditions in New York, but they were doing auditions in Boston. And so I always was like a nerdy theater music kid. Like I was in the marching band in military college. That's how deep that nerd goes.
I love it. Here's to nerdy theater folks. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that could be fun. That would be a cool next step. And the odds were so small. Like they have thousands of people that audition, and they maybe take like 26 people or something, 60 people. I don't know. It was a small margin. And I was frantic running around Boston, and I ended up auditioning for the wrong thing. I walked in and I was like, are these the Academy auditions? And they were like, yeah, read this Welch's grape juice commercial. And I was like, really? Because I have like a whole song and dance prepared and this monologue. And they were like, no, yeah, just read this commercial. I was like, okay. So then I walked around the corner after auditioning for Welch's grape juice commercial and walked around the corner and was like, oh, there's my people. I see the nerdy squad over there. This is like a modeling talent agency. This is not me at all. So I my people, and I was like, okay. So I had to explain, because now I have missed my audition because I'm in the Welch's grape juice commercial. And I was like, can I please audition? I was in the wrong place and I was frantic, and they let me audition. And then not only did I get a call back for the Welch's grape juice commercial.
I was going to ask, did you get the Welch's job though?
I did. And I was staying with a friend in Boston. She was like, you got a fucking call back? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm not going. She's like, you should at least go.
Yeah.
So
that's hysterical. You get a call back for an audition that you didn't mean to go to. Did you play a lottery ticket that day? I feel like you should have played a lottery ticket.
I should have. What I did was go to the Macy's sale and buy myself a new pair of shoes.
That works too.
That's what I really did. And then I got into that school. And so my whole plan was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to Martha's Vineyard and I'm going to like rake in the cash. I'll work a bunch of jobs for the summer. And then I'm going to move to New York. And then I'm going to go be on Broadway. That was my whole new life plan, new goal. That's what I was going to do.
Totally polar opposite to Navy and working on.
So when I was going to school, everyone was like, the military, really? It doesn't seem like you at all. And I was like, yeah, but I liked to party a lot in high school. And so for me, I was like, I really need this discipline in my life, because if I don't have it, who knows where I'm going to end up, but it's not going to be good. So I need somebody screaming at me, telling me what to do. So
awesome that you knew yourself well enough to do that.
Yes. Yeah. I knew I needed that much at least.
I love it.
So, and then it turns out I was like, oh, okay, now you've screamed at me. I'm good. Now I'm good. Are you going to keep doing?
Yeah. Can you stop now?
Like, all right. With that amount.
It doesn't stop though, does it?
No. No. Especially when you give them more to scream at you about, which is definitely a small problem with that. So this seemed more me. I was like, okay, this is the direction that I should go in. So I ended up having I got pregnant, and then life took a drastic turn in a different direction. So I never went to New York, and I ended up having kids and staying here. And I worked on a farm for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Again, polar opposite.
Yeah. You've had a winding journey. I love, this is fascinating.
So I got out of the Navy and I was like, what do I want to do on Martha's Vineyard for the summer? And I was like, all right, my brother was like, oh, you could go work at the farm. They have housing. I'm pretty sure they'd be cool with your cats. And you could just, like pick vegetables, because I know you don't want to be in charge anymore of anyone. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to go in the field and like mindlessly weed and pick flowers. We need a manager. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to do that at all. I just want to be a field hand. That's what I want to do. And they were like, no, well, you can work here, but you have to be the manager. I was like, all right. So back to scheduling for 75 and doing some more manager work. And then I was like begging for years. After like 6 years, I was like, can I please go work in the field? Please. You're like, no, you're really good at this. I was like, but
Was
okay.
it the not wanting to be in a managerial type position that made you want to be out in the field, or was it that you like wanted to do that specifically, like to be working with your hands or to be doing something mindless? I don't know. Like what was the driving force there?
Definitely mindless. I definitely am a work with my hands person. And I think I really found that out. That was that aha moment working on my brakes for the bottle of Crown. Because that I was like, okay, I am a work with my hands person. I really enjoy that. The satisfying, the reward. So I wanted to do that and more of that. And I had no experience doing that. I think, like as a kid, I worked in a coffee shop. I was a lifeguard for a while. So I didn't really have any like work with my hands stuff going on. So I wanted to do more of that. And that farm was not going to make it happen for me. So I went to a different farm and they were like, okay, here's a tractor. Do you know how to work a tractor? I was like, no, not at all. And they're like, all right, so hop on. We're going to teach you how to do everything that you need to do on this tractor. You're going to seed, you're going to transplant, you're going to cultivate, you're going to cull in the fields, you're going to do all of it. And I was like, okay, yes. So I got the experience that I was really looking for and I loved it. It was so, so rewarding. Farming is hard work, but it is good. It's good stuff. It was and my soul kind of needed that after being just like really the Navy, and that whole military experience really sucked me dry. So it was really good to fill back up with the farming.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I love your like willingness. Like, nope, I don't know anything about this, but I'm gonna dive in anyway.
Yeah, I think that's generally my attitude. Like, never done it, but yeah, I'll try it. I'll try it at least once. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So,
overwhelms and intimidates a lot of folks, right? A lot of folks are like, I have to be good at it before I try to do the thing, or I have to know all of the things. It's an interesting trait that I think a lot of folks wish they had or are envious of, like that ability to say, I know nothing. I'm just going to dive in and do it anyway and figure out as I go.
yeah.
And you've done that over and over again through your life.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a big preacher of you got to fail a lot of times, a lot of times, and then you learn from that. If you're not learning from your failures, then you're not learning really. So, and I have failed a lot. So
Yes. You and me both, sister.
again, you can take away from it. That is good. Even if it's small, even if you take something really small away from it, you are still learning and you're growing, and you're learning every day out there. Everything changes. And especially in this industry, like how it is so hard to keep up. It is quite a task to just stay on top of stuff.
It very much is. Very much is. Um, Farming. How did you get from farming to?
He finally was like, okay, so can you do an oil change on the tractor? I was like, I can try. And then I was like, oh yeah, I really like doing this. Right. That's right. I want to do this. I think I want to do this for real. And so by now I was a single mom. I had 2 toddlers. Trying to maintain that lifestyle on a farming salary was really hard, especially when my kids don't eat vegetables. So, because a lot of what I was taking home was a lot of bountiful fruits and vegetables, but I was the only one that was partaking in that. So that didn't really cut it. So
Damn
I had
kids.
to thing out. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, let me look in the paper. I will, and also at this point I had a car that I have always had a piece of shit car. And this car went through, I think I was on maybe my second timing belt. I had an Isuzu Trooper.
Ooh.
It threw the water pump is what went twice. So it was like on a once a year thing. So the second time it happened, and this was like a $1,200 job here. Lord knows what it costs elsewhere, but I didn't have that. So the shop that I had gone to was willing to take a payment plan from me, which was really great. And I really, really appreciated it because there was no way I had $1,000 anywhere. Like, no. So by the third time that happened, I was like, I don't, what the fuck?
Need better quality water pumps.
Oh man, don't we know it? So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to go. I really like doing this. I'm going to go and see if I can. And I looked in the paper and there was a shop that was hiring. So I went to the shop and this guy just looked me up and down and laughed in my face. And he was like, oh, are you asking for you? You're going to be kidding me. I was like, well, I mean, I've done some, like I've got basic knowledge of all the systems. I've done a few things on my own car. I'm willing to work and you need help. So, and he was like, girl, I wouldn't hire you if I was desperate. I was like, okay.
Wow. Ouch. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
A real rough first experience with trying to become a mechanic. Mm-hmm. So I went to the next shop. And nobody else was hiring. So I was like, okay, well, that was the best chance that I had. So I thought. And then it wasn't as bad for the rest of them, but definitely the response that I was getting was like, right, I'm going right back to where the industry is not, they're not taking me seriously. They're not looking at me like I've got two hands, I'm willing to do this work.
I just want to do my job. Just let me do my job.
Is that I'm a woman. So I did have one shop where the owner sort of crawled out from under the bus that he was working on, practically in the road. And he did look at me and he was like, now listen, I know this has probably been a really rough go of it for you if you've been asking for jobs in shops. And I'm going to tell you right out, I would hire you if I needed help and if I had the space to take you on, I would. He's like, I own this place and I'm on my back on the ground outside while my two other employees are in lifts. He's like, so it's not because you're a woman, and I'm going to tell you that because you probably need to hear that at this point.
Good for him.
Yeah. Yep. And I really appreciated that. And just for him to tell me that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. And it didn't go well. I went to the next place and he was like, I just don't need any help. And he was, also sort of friendly. But at this point, I'm like, are they saying that? Do they need help? Or is it just that's what they're going to say because they're really like, you're a girl and I'm not going to hire you.
Right.
So by the time my water pump went for the third time, and I still wasn't done paying off probably my first bill, for the first one, I said, I have a proposition for you. I said, I am broke. I am a single mom. Like, I just went to the parts shop and I found out how much that part cost, and it's $120. So I was wondering if I could just pull in, and I have $120 I can spend. $1,200, not so much. But if you would be open to it, I would like to do this job myself, but I have no tools. So if you would let me borrow some tools, I would like to just do this job in your parking lot, if that would be okay with you.
And they said yes?
And he was like, yeah, all right.
Okay, now you have me feeling guilty because there have been people when I owned my shop that asked me for that. And I'm like, I can't do that. It's like, I have liability insurance. Like, I can't do that. So now I feel guilty because that's how you got your foot in the door.
Yeah, but as a business owner now, I totally get it because I would probably do the same thing. Like, ooh, that's you're gonna carry kids in car seats around, so I don't know if that's. But again, like, cheers to this great man that was like, yeah, go for it. Like, I mean, probably a little bit of him inside was like, oh, girl, like, you are going to attempt a water belt timing pump that, like, have you done anything? I was like, I've done some brakes and like some oil changes and belts and an alternator. And he's like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, go. I was like, I've got my manual. I can do this.
I love it. I love your attitude.
And they really didn't, I mean, he just kind of like, he would come and like lean in and look at what I was doing. And he was like, what you got going on there? It's like hieroglyphics. And I was like, well, I don't want to forget where anything goes. I have paint markered everything possible. And it was like pretty artwork. And I was like, but this way I know like this connector goes here. Cause I was like, wow, this is a lot. There's a lot to take apart. I don't know if I'm in over my head. And at one point I just looked at, I was like, I am in over my head.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to ask for help. And I was like, okay, but I didn't know the shop. I didn't know where any of the tools were. So I had to kind of like sheepishly go in and be like, okay, so can you just like, let me know where I can find this thing and I can go back to work out here. And eventually one of the guys that worked there was like, how's it going? Are you doing okay? Do you have any questions? And I was like, well, yes, I do. I have about 12 questions for you. How much time do you have? Because this is what I need to know. I'm at this crucial part where I've got cams exposed and I'm like pinching this down and it sounds like it would be a really bad thing if I skipped a tooth here, and it looks like it's real easy to do. So how do I not do this bad thing that they're telling me not to do?
Great questions. Yes.
He's like, I'm gonna get you a couple vice grips and you'll be just fine. He's like, you just gotta go for it. I was like, all right. And then that is how I got my job, because at the end of it, I put it all back together and I was just kind of standing there, probably crying, knowing me. And the owner of the shop came back around and he was like, are you ready to test drive this? And I was like, yeah, I think I am. He was like, great, I'm coming with you. And I was like, okay, that's good. Because I have no idea if this is going to actually work. So it's probably really good to have you with me. And then he was like, do you want a job? Because he's like, I don't think you realize how much of a job that is. And you just went for it. You had no idea what you were doing and you did it. And he's like, that's the kind of person that I want working here. And
I love it.
Here. And I was like, yeah, I would love that. Yes, please.
Amazing.
And that is how I started.
Wow. That is such a fantastic story. Like, that is oh my gosh. And so, cheers to that owner who was willing to do that and was watching, like just watching your perseverance and your tenacity and your willingness to take on something ridiculous and then to give you a chance like that. What an amazing story.
Yeah, I didn't really think he was watching all that much, because he would just kind of like in passing, and he'd like check in and be like, how's it going? I'm like, well, it's great. I don't know. I mean, like flipping dirty pages in this giant book. Like, oh God.
Oh my goodness.
And it was a learning experience. And then 10 years later, he was like, do you want this business? Because I would like to not, I would like to pass it on to you. And he just, yeah.
I would like you to write a book. Because Oh my gosh, this is like the story that like people could only dream of. Like I did it out of necessity. I was afraid, but I did it anyway. And then I got a job out of it. And now I own a shop because of it. Like it all started with the timing belt.
The
It all
timing.
started with the
Yep.
timing belt.
Yep. All start.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little speechless, honestly. How long did the timing belt take? Like how many days were you there?
Too long. I'm going to say I was pushing on taking up space in the shop parking lot for too long. But at the same time, like I had two other jobs, two kids. Like I had two kids in two schools, and one was in daycare. And so that's like short hours. And the other kid was at the other school. So it was like, I was very scattered. And when I was there, can't really have my toddlers running around. So I had to find somebody to watch the kids for me. So it was a lot of juggling, and that was my only method of transportation. So it was like I had to really go and put every hour that I could, which would have been extra hours, but I was only limited to when the shop was open because I had no tools at that point. So
Right.
I really like it. It really made me feel comfortable knowing that there were other people there. So that if I got to this point where I was like, and I hated it, I would sit there for so long and be like, I can figure this out. I can figure this out. And then it just was like, just ask, just go and ask them a question. They will help you if you need the help. And I really wanted to try to do it totally on my own. But one of the guys there was so great about helping me. I mean, there were two guys working there, and they were really like one of each, so one guy was like over it, totally treated me like shit years after I was working there. And
Oh wow.
then the other guy, totally opposite, wanted me to learn, could see that I really wanted to do the work, and just taught me everything he knew, and just took the time to pull me over and say, hey, come check this out because I'm doing this and you've probably never seen this, and giving me little tips about just little tricks of the trade, different, when the emergency brake shoe in the rear is bigger than the one in the front, like little things like that I'm going in this completely blind. So I had no training. I mean, the engineering training wasn't remotely close to like really the systems I got, but now doing the work. So he really took the time to tell me all the things that I needed to know. And he is another one of those guys that I would not be where I am today if it weren't for him just sort of like taking me under his wing and just teaching me everything that he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the drive in the world, all the commitment in the world, like it still takes having allies to be successful, having mentors to be successful in this industry. And if that's the only thing that comes out of this happy hour series that I'm doing, is that there are more folks who hear how important that is and are more inspired to go back to their jobs and be the mentor and be the one willing to take people under their wings, whether they're male or female. Like if that's the only thing that comes out of this, I can die a happy person, right? Because that's the difference. Your story is testament to that. Like, you had all the drive in the world, but it took, you would have gotten there eventually. Like I can tell from your personality, you would have gotten there eventually. But having those few people who are willing to give you a shot, like look at you now.
Yeah, this happy hour thing. So I had no idea. I feel like sometimes I'm like lost on this island and I'm like don't really know what's going on in the big wide world out there. And I was like, what is this all about? And I have like obsessively been watching. I'm like, look at all these badass women. I'm like so amazed every episode that I watch. I'm like taking notes. I'm writing everything down. I'm like, okay, so I am going to go and I want to meet all of these women. It's so awesome. And the fact that you have like 85-ish or however many of these,
It's
I'm like,
crazy.
there are so many more of us than I thought there were. And just doing all kinds of stuff. It's so inspirational and so awesome. So there's so much more coming out of this happy hour than just that little bit. There is a lot here, and
I appreciate that. I get the same
part of this. Awesome.
I appreciate that. I get the same inspiration out of every woman who I speak with. I'm just every week I'm so blown away by each person I speak with, each woman I get to meet. I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. Oh my God, you're amazing. Oh my God.
I love what you do. It's so cool.
Right?
Great. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So we don't have a ton of time left. Are you okay with going a little bit over if we do?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Fast. Wow.
Right? I know. but I'm trying not to make this a 2-hour series because I feel like that's a lot. But I feel like we could talk that much with most of the women who are on this.
Yep.
But so you were a mechanic there for 10 years, you said, right?
Yep.
And then he offers you his shop. So now you're a shop owner.
I would say in the last 2 or 3 years of working there, he had sort of started to train me on some of the other options. There was one shop that I had gone to that was like, well, we can start you. And I know that I think it was with Rob, maybe that you guys were talking about, like, yeah, we can start you in the office and then we'll put you on the floor eventually. And I just kind of like got this feeling, and this guy was a friend of mine, and he was like, I'm really helping you out by doing this. And I was like, I will never see the floor of that shop if I take this job. I will always be at that computer, and that's not what I want to do. And there are a lot of people that is a great opportunity, but that was not, I wanted to be under the hood, not at the desk. So, I was like, thank you. I'm going to keep trying. But then, sort of like in the last 2 or 3 years of working for Bruce at the shop, he sort of started to get me aware of all the other stuff that goes on, because
he was grooming you.
Yes, he was absolutely grooming me. And I think, he had the shop. He had owned the shop for 30 years. So he was kind of like ready to start phasing out. And he was like, okay, so let's get you on the invoicing, the billing, he just started having me like take care of all the core returns and just like all these other little factors. And I was like, okay. And I could tell that he was sort of grooming me for all of this. And he was like, someday I'm going to need somebody to take over this business. Now, I had come in, I was like the spring chicken over there. And the other guys that had been working there for a lot longer than I had. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know what the intentions really, I could not tell what they really were. And I just went with it. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll whatever you need, I'll do it. And then I realized, I was like, I think he's grooming me. But after a couple of years, I was like, is he just like dangling this carrot in front of my face to get me to do more work? Because I was like, I can. Somebody said to me once, if you want something done, give it to a busy woman. Because even though she's got 12 other things going on, she will get it done. And you don't have to worry about it. So I was like, okay, is that what's happening here? Like, he's just
right. Like it could have gone either way.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Is he dangling this in front of my face? And I was like, now I'm doing everything. I'm like, I've got the booking down. I've got the customer service down. I've got the invoicing, and I'm the tech, and I'm doing all these things, but I'm still getting paid the same. And I feel like, I'm like, is he just like, someday you're going to have this business? And I was like, is that just a way to get me to do like more
all
work for my money?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, but
he was preparing you for business owner life.
He told, yeah. Oh God, nothing can prepare you for that, by the way.
That is true. Although there is a small taste of it in doing 14 things and not making any money.
Yes. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Or being at the shop until 8:00 at night. Yeah. And having no life outside of that. Yes. Yes. So, But he eventually was like, okay, so what do you think about making this happen? And I was like, I got married in October. This was 4 years ago.
Nice.
And I had done all of that myself. I did like growing the food, growing the flowers, like
Of
soup
course
to
you
nuts.
did.
I
Of
went and
course.
caught all the fish. I dug all the shellfish. I was like, I need to do this for as cheap as I possibly can because I am broke. I have no money. And this is how this is going to, we're going to make the benches. We're not going to have a tent because it's going to be beautiful. It fucking rain like the Dickens. So, yeah. So I was like done. I was depleted. I had maxed out like the 2 credit cards that allowed me to have small amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, it was right before Christmas. And he was like, what do you think? January 1st. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, what? I have nothing. I have nothing to my name right now. I can't buy your business. There's no way. No, you're giving me 2 weeks.
Right.
I don't even know. I was like, I don't even know the first thing about it. Like, what do I need? What do I need to do? Like, what does that mean? I have no idea. Do I need a different bank account? Like, what? Who does the paper?
Oh, wait, I have to do that? What?
And I was like, okay, but there are all these little details, like what's a tax ID number? I don't know what that means. So it was a lot to learn in a really quick amount of time with nothing. And he, again, like was king of the payment plan. And I had that business paid off in 2 years. And I was like, okay, I think I can actually pay it off early. And I am still trying to figure out how to do the rest of it.
I think that's a lifelong process, but I also think we just found the title to your book when you write it. Like, from paying off a timing belt to paying off a business. This is amazing. Your story is so absolutely phenomenal. What a journey you have been on. This life of yours has been fascinating, hasn't it?
It's been a lot. There's been a lot of twisty turns. It's been interesting. Yeah.
So you've owned the business for how many years now?
This is my 5th. I think this is my 5th season. I think it's my 5th.
Nice. I feel like that's a whole nother hour worth of conversation that we could have about, because there's so much I want to know about what it's like to own a business on such a small island, really, like how that must change things. So you and I are going to have to keep talking after this because I want to chat more with you. This has been so phenomenal. Meeting you is amazing. You're fantastic. We are down to like 2 more minutes in our hour. So I know there's so much more we could do. We're going to have you back on again at some point. But
I'm definitely coming out there. So I'm like, I got out my whole schedule book today. I was like, okay, when can I go? How many times can I go?
As many as you want.
Okay.
I will send you the calendar and we will get you out. Nice. Awesome. So in our last couple of minutes, I want to ask you the question that I ask everybody and I end on. If you had the opportunity to go back and speak to the younger you or another young person, male, female, out there who is looking at you saying, oh my God, I want to do what she does. What are your words of advice to them?
The first thing that comes to my mind is take no shit, tell no lies.
Enough said.
Keep it real. It's not going to be easy, but if it is your passion, people will see that and they will see that you are bringing it to the table. And that is just show them what you got, because if it's there, it's there. And if somebody were to approach me with just a fraction of the drive, because we all need help, you know, we're all like 2 to 3 people down, and I have worked my way through a lot of possible potential employees. And you know, it's hard to find people with a good solid work ethic. And I have had people with that really wanted to learn, and I could see that, and I was like, okay, you know what, I will take the time to teach you and train you because I can see that you want it.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I teach, because I want people to feel comfortable and confident, and I want them to know even just the bare minimum, like how much better would that have made you feel? I mean, I don't know anything about your story, but like going into a shop and at least just knowing like what something is called or potential possibilities or what,
Right.
or what I could check on myself just to know would have been huge for me in a lot of different times, especially being a single mom where I didn't have a lot to work with. So if I could have just known a little bit more, it would have helped a lot. So
Yeah. We didn't even touch on your teaching until just now. My goodness, there's so much more to cover with you. Why is your story so interesting, damn it?
more time. We'll do it again.
We need more time. Oh my gosh. So everybody who's watching this, please know there's so much more to her than we've even talked about in this hour. Please go follow her. Please go check her out. Show her some love and support. Check out all the amazing things that she is up to. She's running a business. She's raising kids. She's got classes that she teaches to empower women. She's pulled herself up by the bootstraps. She's got a ton of awesome stuff going on and a ton of amazing insight to share, as you have heard. If you came in late on this, make sure you go back and listen to the whole thing because she's really got a lot of phenomenal experiences to share with you guys. Andrea, I can't thank you enough for coming to join me on this, and I so appreciate your time. We are going to talk more. We're going to get you out to Phoenix. I'm really excited to meet you in real life.
Yeah. And I can't wait to find out how many kittens you have right now.
I know. It was 5 when I got on this call. I have no idea where we're at right now, but we're going to find out in a moment. But thank you so much. Everybody who tuned in, thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us for this past hour. Again, I'm going to say, make sure you go check her out. I'm going to link to her in the description of this that is going to be up on my profile page. Like always, this is going to live on my IGTV with all of the rest of my Trades Lady happy hours. If you're new to this whole series, make sure you go back and watch them and check them out. A ton of amazing women out there, each one equally interesting and fascinating and with a lot of insight to share. So make sure you go watch those. Make sure you come back next week to meet another awesome trades woman. And for now, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. Andrea, thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Awesome opportunity. Thank you. So nice
to you. Very nice to meet you as well. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.